Time to feed the chickens. Cracked corn. Want some? Alright, what do we got here? Alright. And yummy steam pellets. Yummy. Alright, let's go feed the chickens. Hey guys, it's Fletch. Welcome back to the Big Sky Tactical Channel in Big Sky Country. Hey guys, while I'm feeding the chickens, I wanted to talk to you about immunizations. It's school time. Most of you guys that have kids, or your grandkids, or your nieces and nephews, whatever, either going to be starting school pretty quick or have already started school. And it's time for, the public health nurse or the school nurse or whatever, is going to start giving you the third degree about making sure that your children's immunizations are current and that they're done. And I wanted to remind you guys, if you didn't know, that there's a nice shot of the chickens eating their high protein. For those of you that didn't know, that the school cannot make you immunize your children. Pretty much every state out there, and I'll give you guys a few links to some resources that you can take advantage of if you decide that you don't want to do that. But yeah, you don't have to immunize your children, and the school can't make you do it. Your doctor can't make you do it. No one can make you do it. And in some states, you may have to file some simple paperwork that just says, that I disagree with immunizing my children for whatever reason. Be that because you don't think, you have a religious objection to it because there's lots of nasty stuff in there that you don't believe in, like little parts of little people. Yeah, check the link, you'll see for yourself. But yeah, there's lots of reasons that are out there why you may choose not to immunize your children if you were aware of everything that was in the immunizations. So again, just a quick reminder to all of you that are out there: you do not have to immunize your children. No one can force you to immunize your children. And just be aware of that, and don't be buffaloed or coerced into it. Just kind of a somewhat of a funny side story. When we used to live in a much bigger city in the Mountain West, we had a doctor, and at that time, we were just starting to learn about, how would I put this? We were just kind of starting to learn about, eating healthy, taking care of ourselves, and things like that. So long story short, we decided that we were not going to, at that time, fully immunize our children, that there were only some immunizations that we were going to give to our children. And that was the decision that we had made. And I went in with one of my children for the checkup. And yes, I'm the one that usually takes our children to the doctor. Usually because of that, there's always, the full court press, to immunize your children. And my wife, God bless her, I love her dearly. She is just, not a confrontational person at all. I certainly don't think of myself as a confrontational person, but at the same time, I'm not afraid of it. We all have our strengths and weaknesses, and that's the great thing about marriage, is that the areas that you are strong in, your spouse may not be, and vice versa. And anyway, so back to the immunizations. I just didn't want anybody to think I was bagging on my wife, because that's not the case at all. I love her dearly, and she is my helpmate for life, and that is definitely the way that I look at it. So anyways, I'm in the doctor's office, and the one nurse was in there, and I've got just kind of pretty much pat answer about immunizations, and that's that my wife and I are both educated, and we have studied the subject, and we have made an educated and informed decision, and we have decided against immunizations. And the matter is not open for debate. And that's almost verbatim what I say every time. Oh, look at this. I found a dime. Interesting. So, excuse me. I've got to water the chickens. Give them some fresh water now. Time to water the chickens. So, anyways, I told the nurse that, and she just kind of looked at me, and she, basically, well, don't you love your children? And I'm like, yes, I love my children. That's why, I'm not gonna risk giving my children these immunizations for things that, may or may not necessarily, be out there anymore, may not necessarily be a risk to my children anymore. Plus, there's a lot of crap that goes into those immunizations. And for all you guys out there, if you've never had chickens, chickens will drink just about any kind of water. Their water doesn't really need to be clean. It's not a big deal. And you can see they would rather, see right there, they would rather drink that dirty water over there than they would the good clean water out of the bowl. So relax. But so anyways, wanted to tell the story, and I keep getting sidetracked. The nurse leaves. She's gone for about, I'd say maybe 3 minutes or 10 minutes, something like that. And 3 nurses come back in. Yes, this is I swear this is God's honest truth. 3 nurses come back in, and as soon as I saw them come in, I could tell what time it was, and so I just headed them off at the pass. I just looked at them and said, you know what? The 3 of you can just turn around and go back in, because you're not going to peer pressure me into getting my children immunized. And just because I disagree with what you think is the right answer does not mean that I'm ignorant. Does not mean that I don't know any better. It does not mean that you're going to use a show of force on me by 3 of you coming in here at the same time to try to talk to me about it. So either you can leave this room right this second, or I'm going to. Which do you want to do? Yep, that's exactly what I said. And I ended up, getting up with my son, walking out and sitting in the waiting room until it was time to meet with the doctor. And the doctor actually was pretty laid back about the whole deal. When I talked to him, I just explained politely and calmly, that my wife had studied the subject, and that it was an educated decision that we had made, and that they weren't going to change our minds. And it all worked out fine in the long run, but just be prepared that watering the garden there. Looks like we need to come out and pick the weeds again, obviously. But anyways, be prepared. You may get a little bit of resistance, but there's every year there's more and more evidence about the kind of crap that's actually in the immunizations and the flu shots and so on and so forth. So educate yourself, make an educated decision, whatever you decide is best for you and your family. I'm not telling you you're wrong if you disagree with me, because I don't believe that. We all make our own decisions based on what's happening in our lives and what we feel is best for our families. I don't think anyone ever sits down and makes a decision that intentionally that will adversely affect their family or their children. So, well, this is Fletch, done with the chores, and this video has drug on long enough, so I'm going to go ahead and get off of here. Remember, guys, immunizations, you don't have to. No one can make you do it. And, research it, make an educated decision on what you feel is right for your family. All right, guys, we'll talk to you later. Bye. One other thing real quick, guys, and I realize this video is already drug on long enough, but if you guys watch my videos, you're probably already aware of that. So anyways, one thing I wanted to add about the immunizations and just kind of food for thought. Here in Big Sky Country or Montana, we have Hutterites. Hutterites are like Mennonites, Amish, things like that. They're all basically started off from the same offshoot at some point, and then fractured off, and so they all still kind of basically live this same lifestyle, so to speak. Here in Big Sky Country, the Hutterites, a lot of them still speak German. The people tend to be bilingual. They can speak both English and German, but German is what they speak in their community. The reason why I'm bringing them up is just something I want you guys to think about. Food for thought. Hutterites do not get type 2 diabetes as a general rule. I have never heard of that. I have talked to some Hutterite people that we have, well, let's just say on occasion we go there, we buy stuff from them because they have, good, inexpensive organic stuff that you can buy from them. But you do have to dicker sometimes. So anyways, that being said, in talking to these folks, they just don't have adult onset diabetes. It does not exist. And also for the childhood diabetes, type 1 diabetes, in the Hutterite community, that does not exist. Does not exist. There may be, well, I don't know, I suppose anything is possible, but from the folks I've talked to, it's never happened. It does not exist. And, they live right here in America with the rest of us. So, in talking to some of these fine folks, out in the Hutterite community. And by the way, guys, you know, if you're looking for a way to get, you know, some good wholesome food, I highly recommend, you know, that you visit. If you've got Mennonites or Hutterites or Amish or whatever around you, just some good patriotic Americans. Those people, they love their country, they love their God, and support them if you can. So, moving on past that, no, I'm not Mennonite, Hutterite, or Amish either, so let's get that out of the way right now as well. But they just diabetes does not exist. Well, in talking to them, there's only two things that separate them from everyone else that lives in this area. One is that the lion's share of the food that they eat, and I'm not going to hazard a guess, but you know, they are almost 100% self-sufficient. All of the food they eat, they grow themselves, you know, from the dairy to the cheese to the meat products, you know, they eat it themselves. And even the ones that, you know, come into the community here, very, very few of them will ever eat in a restaurant or anything like that. They bring their food with them, and, you know, and sack lunches and things like that. So, you know, you're just not going to see them, you know, bellying up at McDonald's or Burger King or Wendy's or anything like that. So, having said that, and I'm sure there's probably an exception to every rule too. So, but by and large, especially around here, they do not. So, it's diet. Diet is number one. Number two, who knows what it is? What's the video about today? Immunizations. They do not immunize their children. Never have, never will. And so, food for thought. Think about that. You know, it's that cannot just be a quinky dink that somehow they just don't get diabetes. And I would love to see for there to be some type of a study to prove that. However, I don't think that there ever will be, because there's no money in that. No one is ever going to pay for a study to prove that, about, you know, the corollary and the, you know, the connection there between you know, these separatists or whatever you want to call them. And I don't mean that in a derogatory term like FEMA would call you a separatist, but just that they live separate from the rest of society. You know, the only difference is their diet and immunizations. That's it. And so somewhere in one of those two, or the combination of both, is where it's coming from. That could be the root of it. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. All right, guys. Talk to you later.